In a world where houses once held the promise of a secure future, there's a looming crisis silently infiltrating the rental market. A sea of properties, once buzzing with eager tenants, now standing eerily vacant. This is the catastrophic collapse of the rental market.
Finding long-term housing within her budget has been an uphill battle for Tanya Frazier, a disabled woman who had to take care of 3 children. Affordable housing crisis affecting cities and towns across the country.
Every year, more and more people are ending up on the streets.
The rise in homelessness has been driven largely by the rise in our affordable housing crisis.
And what unfolds next is a tale of unprecedented challenges and uncertain futures. Airbnb, a name that resonates with millions worldwide, has transformed the way we think about accommodation and travel. But have you ever stopped to consider the ripple effect this giant has had on the housing market? It's actually much more than what you might have expected from a platform just for booking a cozy room. But first, let's go back to 2006, the year it all started in San Francisco, a city known for its innovation and entrepreneurial spirit. The founders of Airbnb, Brian Chesky and Joe Gebbia, were struggling to pay their rent. In a stroke of genius, they decided to rent out air mattresses in their living room to attendees of a large conference in town. As unexpected as it was, Airbnb's growth was not just rapid, it was exponential. In its early days, the platform was a novel concept, offering travelers a chance to stay in someone's home rather than a traditional hotel. This idea resonated with people looking for more authentic, local experiences. Airbnb provided a unique solution: affordable accommodations with a personal touch. The company tapped into a new market segment, those seeking not just a place to stay, but an experience, a connection with the local culture. Nevertheless, the founders of Airbnb proved to be not just creators, but also innovators. They realized early on that trust was a critical component of their business model. To build this trust, they implemented a review system, allowing both hosts and guests to rate each other. This system was pivotal in establishing Airbnb as a reliable and safe platform. It wasn't just about finding a place to stay. It was about creating a community of travelers and hosts sharing experiences and stories. Airbnb's success can also be attributed to its adaptability and responsiveness to user feedback. The platform continuously evolved, adding features like professional photography services for hosts and expanding its offerings to include experiences, not just accommodations. This evolution kept the platform fresh and appealing to a broad audience. One of the most impressive aspects of Airbnb's growth is its global reach. What started as a small venture in San Francisco quickly expanded worldwide. By 2011, just 3 years after its inception, Airbnb was present in 89 countries and had over 1 million nights booked. What is the status right now? In 2023, Airbnb boasts an astounding 6.6 million listings worldwide. This figure represents a significant 9.9% increase from the 2021 statistics. However, this number is slightly lower than the 7 million listings reported in 2019. We will get to the root cause of that in a second, but for now, we can't deny the fact that the platform's reach is truly global, with listings spanning over 100,000 cities and towns. This widespread presence underscores Airbnb's success in penetrating diverse markets. From bustling metropolitan cities to remote countryside locations, Airbnb simply cannot be matched. The user base is equally impressive. The platform is estimated to have over 150 million users, with more than 45 million of these users located in the United States alone. These statistics paint a picture of a company that has not only disrupted the traditional hospitality industry but has also set new benchmarks in terms of growth, market penetration, and user engagement. However, as Airbnb's global presence expanded, a new challenge emerged for hosts: the dilemma of profit versus market saturation. Initially, becoming an Airbnb host seemed like a golden opportunity. People from all walks of life started converting their spare rooms, apartments, and even entire houses into short-term rental properties. The idea was simple: offer a unique personal space to travelers and earn more than what traditional long-term rentals would pay. It was a win-win situation, or so it seemed. But as more and more people jumped onto the Airbnb bandwagon, the market began to show signs of saturation. In major cities and tourist hotspots, the number of Airbnb listings skyrocketed. This influx led to an unexpected problem: too many options for guests and not enough demand to fill them. Suddenly, hosts found themselves in a competitive market, where simply having a listing was no longer enough to guarantee bookings. The saturation of the Airbnb market had several implications. For one, it led to a decrease in occupancy rates. In the United States in 2018, for example, the occupancy rate for Airbnb properties dropped to a mere 11%. This meant that out of every 100 Airbnb hosts, 89 did not have a guest on any given night. Such low occupancy rates were a far cry from the early days of Airbnb, where hosts enjoyed a steady stream of guests and income. Another consequence of market saturation was the downward pressure on prices. With an oversupply of rental properties, hosts began to lower their prices in an attempt to attract more guests. This price war eroded the profitability that initially attracted many to Airbnb hosting. What was once a lucrative side hustle or even a primary source of income was now becoming less financially rewarding. The challenge for hosts in a saturated market was not just about filling their spaces, but also about standing out in a crowded field. Hosts had to become more creative and thoughtful in how they presented their properties. This meant investing in quality furnishings, offering unique experiences, and ensuring top-notch customer service. The focus shifted from merely listing a space to creating an experience that would draw guests in. For the guests, the market saturation brought about a level of professionalism and quality that needed to be improved. Yet, it is safe to say that this push towards quality over quantity was the only silver lining in the cloud of market saturation. As the Airbnb market evolved, so did consumer preferences and market dynamics, leading to significant shifts in the rental landscape. This change was not just a mere fluctuation, but a fundamental transformation in how people viewed and used rental services. The changing consumer preferences were marked by a noticeable shift towards quality and experience over price. Initially, Airbnb's appeal was its cost-effectiveness compared to traditional hotels. However, as the market matured, the price advantage began to diminish. Guests started to expect more from their Airbnb stays, not just a bed to sleep in, but an experience that was memorable and unique. Traditional hotels grabbed the opportunity and started to innovate by offering apartment-style accommodations and services that blended the comfort of a home with the reliability of a hotel stay. Among the other competitors were well-established players like Vrbo, Vacation Rental by Owner, TripAdvisor, and Expedia. These platforms brought their own unique offerings and marketing strategies to the table, intensifying the competition. The competitive landscape in the short-term rental market evolved rapidly. Unlike Airbnb's early days, when it had a relatively clear field, these new entrants were well-funded and had existing customer bases. They leveraged their resources and brand recognition to challenge Airbnb's dominance. Amid the challenges faced by Airbnb hosts in a saturated market, a more significant issue began to emerge: the societal impact of short-term rentals and the subsequent regulatory response. As the platform gained popularity, it started to affect not just individual hosts and guests, but also entire communities and housing markets. On one hand, Airbnb offered economic opportunities for hosts and local businesses, generating income and boosting tourism. On the other hand, it began to disrupt the traditional fabric of neighborhoods. The influx of short-term renters could lead to a revolving door of unfamiliar faces, eroding the sense of community that had thrived in these areas for generations. Housing availability was one of the most critical concerns. In cities like New York City, San Francisco, and Los Angeles, where housing shortages were already pressing concerns, the rapid growth of short-term rentals exacerbated the problem. According to a report by Inside Airbnb, in New York City alone, there were over 45,000 Airbnb listings in 2019. This massive inventory of short-term rentals reduced the availability of long-term housing options for residents. The competition between Airbnb guests and local residents for rental properties drove up rental prices. A study by the American Economic Journal found that a 1% increase in Airbnb listings led to a 0.18% increase in rents. While this might seem like a small percentage, it had a significant impact on affordability, especially in already expensive cities. Moreover, the reduction in available housing options forced local residents to face difficult choices. A report by Inside Airbnb indicated that over 30% of entire home Airbnb listings in New York City were rented out for more than 120 days per year, effectively removing them from the long-term rental market. Thus, many long-term renters found themselves struggling to secure leases or facing rent increases that strained their budgets. Families and individuals who had lived in these cities for years suddenly had to consider relocating due to the lack of affordable housing. It created a housing crisis that cities around the world had to grapple with. As the societal impact became more evident, regulatory bodies began to take action. Local governments and municipalities started implementing regulations aimed at curbing the growth of short-term rentals. Cities like New York, San Francisco, and Paris introduced regulations ranging from limiting the number of days a property could be rented out to imposing hefty fines on hosts who violated the rules. Then, there were also the homeowners associations, HOAs. Many HOAs amended their bylaws to prohibit or restrict short-term rentals within their communities. This shift in attitude reflected the concerns of long-term residents about the safety, security, and character of their neighborhoods. For Airbnb hosts, navigating this legal maze became increasingly complex. Another fundamental legal challenge Airbnb faced was the question of liability. When disputes or issues arose between guests and hosts, who should bear responsibility? Airbnb introduced a host guarantee and host protection insurance to address some of these concerns, but the legal landscape remained murky. Hosts often found themselves in uncharted territory, unsure of their rights and responsibilities. These regulatory measures were not without controversy. Airbnb and its hosts argued that the platform provided economic opportunities and supported local businesses. They claimed that regulations were stifling innovation and entrepreneurship. On the other side of the debate, proponents of stricter regulations argued that the social costs of short-term rentals, such as noise disturbances and the loss of affordable housing, outweighed the economic benefits. In the end, though, the catastrophic collapse of the rental market is a complex issue with far-reaching implications. It's a cautionary tale of market saturation, regulatory challenges, and economic vulnerabilities. How will the market adapt and evolve in response to these challenges? Only time will tell.